and this goes up, you feel your blood pressure going up and down. You are not that person. You are just happy with the dividend that you make, right? If that is the case, then you do not have to pay zakah on the value of the investment. You pay zakah on the dividend only, because the stocks in this case actually are not urul tijara. They are not for sale, right? They are not for sale. Exactly like if you do have rental property. You have an apartment or a house or condominium that you rent it for $1,000 a month, and the value of the condominium itself is $100,000. In the month of Ramadan, if you still have any of those $12,000 coming from the rent, like the lease revenue, you pay zakah on them, and you don't have to pay zakah on the market value of the condominium itself, right, or the apartment or whatever. If you change your mind and you put that house for sale, then you start calculating zakah based on the market value of the house, because actually it became urul tijara. It became urul tijara. Back to the stocks. If you are active and your common practice is that you buy and sell and you watch the news and you speculate, you keep buying and selling, either by yourself or you ask somebody else to do the job on your behalf, then you have to pay zakah on everything. You pay zakah on the market value of the stocks as well as the dividend, because all what you have actually is labeled as urul tijara. They are for sale. They are for sale. Clear so far so good? طيب, let me start from my right side. We have sisters here. تفضل يا جماعة. Yes ma'am, تفضل. Can you speak please louder and slower? You have a mutual fund account? Who is running that account? Who is the investment company? Fidelity? طيب. We need to find out who is running that account on your behalf. If you are investing your money in one of those Muslim-owned mutual fund companies, I would assume the default rule is that they know their business, they know what kind of financial instruments to use, so your investment should be halal. Even if it is contaminated with some haram, they know very well how to get rid of the haram portion of it. So you should be good if your money, if your investment is with one of those Muslim-owned mutual fund companies. I mean, this is the assumption, the presumption, right? However, otherwise could be proven, by the way. I have heard about some of those, Muslim-owned mutual fund companies who do not know anything about Sharia, and they claim to be Sharia compliant. But if the investment company is otherwise, then we need to find out what kind of financial instruments you do have in your portfolio. Maybe the best option for you, sister, is to run your portfolio by Zaki Financial. Send them an email, a copy, like a database, okay, Excel sheet, what you have in your portfolio, and they can give you like a professional opinion that, listen, you have this one halal, this one is haram, this one based on the criteria that they set. How about that? Before you purify, you need to identify the percentage of the haram involved in it, right? If it is 10%, then you need to purify, like dispose 10% of the profit or the dividend of that account, right? If it is a 20%, you dispose 20% of the profit, and you pay zakah accordingly on the rest of it, as we already explained. طيب, inshallah, I'll get back to you. تفضل. Yes, sir. So. Money market account, money market fund. Well, whatever you have in your 401k actually is your money, whether it is your contribution or your employer contribution. I mean, this is how the 401k works. I mean, they have to match your payment. Now, matching your payment actually makes every single dollar that you have in your 401k your money and not their money. Now this is one thing. Now, the next point actually is to find out again. I would give you the same answer that I gave to the sister. What kind of portfolio you have? What are the financial instruments that you have? Are they pure stocks, bonds, derivatives, futures? Okay. Now the third question. What kind of stocks you have? What are the companies that those stocks belong to? Right? A stock. I mean, it could be a finance company stock. It could be a Wells Fargo stock or Chase or right. So we have to make sure that the core business. We have a checklist. Core business is halal. That's number one. That asset ratio is to the minimum less than 30%. That's two. Interest-bearing investment less than 30%. That's check box 3. Actual generated interest less than 5%. That's check 4. If you check all these like different check boxes, right? Then that stock actually is good enough or halal enough to invest in. And we have to do make sure that we do this exercise periodically, because akhi, in the real life, believe it or not, a certain stock or certain portfolio might be good enough or halal enough in the first 4 months of the year, and it becomes otherwise, right? Because of the diversity in investment, different policies, different. So we have to do that the job, and that's why I said like with Atina, I sit with them, like I meet with them, like theoretically speaking, 4 times a year. Every 3 months we sit together, we see the data, and we do the exercise of like picking and choosing based on certain criteria or algorithm that they have. So we exclude everything except those who are halal, and we do the same exercise after 3 months because the fluctuation and the Sharia compliance status throughout the whole year long. That's a good point. وحبيبنا يعني الزكاة نعم زكاة on a retirement account is يعني something اجتهادي. It's an independent reasoning issue. That's why I said that this is a contemporary issue, and we have 3 different schools, right? One school says that you have to pay zakah on 100% of what you have. Other school says you don't have to pay zakah whatsoever on your 401k. Our school as AMJA, we hold the stick from the middle. We go with the accessible amount. Now, if someone believes that AMJA approach is reasonable enough, you can apply it from now on. You don't have to backdate that fatwa 25 years back. You don't have to. Just from now, خلاص عفى الله عن مسألة. From now on, do the math every single year, pay zakah, and you should be good. Again, I mean, this is our ijtihad. We might be wrong. Yes, I mean, we are a fiqh council. We are alhamdulillah qualified enough, and this is actually a collective fatwa. It's not an individual fatwa, but at the end of the day, it could be wrong, right? So if you believe that AMJA approach is the most reasonable one, you just go ahead and apply it from now on. Simple as that. Forget about what happened in the past. طيب, moving on, Sheikh Hussam, تفضل. Yeah. Right. No. The main difference is that 401k or any kind of retirement account is a very restricted investment. You are not supposed to touch it. You're supposed to stay away from your 401k all the way until the age of retirement. So it's not accessible in full. That's why we say, well, find out how much you have an access to, and you pay zakat on it, right? Now, if you do have an investment outside your employer-based retirement account, IRA, simple investment account, brokerage account, mutual fund, whatever, this is actually you do have a full access to it, so it is accessible 100%. Now, since it is accessible, right, we need to ask the next question: are you active in the market? Do you buy and sell? The answer is yes. Then you have to pay zakat. By the way, Sheikh Hussein, if you do have your account, okay, with one of those mutual fund companies, even if you are not trading, you have to pay zakat on everything that you have. Do you know why? Because the mutual fund company is doing the job on your behalf. They invest in your account, right? So your account actually, in reality, it is under investment. You don't have to do the job yourself. As long as the job is done either by you or by others, then the account actually is zakatable. You need to pay zakah on everything. Make sense? You don't? No. No. The 401k, Habibna, is under investment, and that's why you make money every year. But somebody else actually is doing the job on your behalf. It is under investment, like around the clock. Just keep trading, buying and selling, and that's why you grow your 401k, right? It is growing on an annual basis, right? And that's why it is under investment. Whatever you have an access to, it has to be zakatable, right? Unlike if you have something outside the 401k, okay? You might be active, you might be inactive. I know a lot of people who are happy with the dividend that they make. They're not interested in buying and trading and selling. They're just happy with whatever dividend or profit that they make. If that is the case, then you just pay zakat on the dividend, because the stocks are not عروض تجارة. الله أعلم. تفضل. Then what kind of profit you make if there is no dividend? And you are not actively trading in the stock market? No zakat on it. I mean, this is a long-term investment. This is equivalent to a piece of land that you purchased overseas, right, back home maybe 10-15 years ago. Okay, and it's not active in the market. It's not for sale. This is a long-term investment. Long-term investment is zakat exempt. Once you put that land in the market active, right, then you have to consider paying zakah on it every single year, even if it is not sold. Likewise with the stocks that you are explaining. As long as it is a retirement account, 401k, 403, whatever the name of the account might be, it is under investment by default, unless you prove otherwise, which is not that easy. Okay, 401k is under investment. Someone is investing in your behalf. That's why you make money. طيب نرجع للأخوات هنا. Sisters, تفضل يا أختي. Do we have another mic where we can give it to the questioner? Honestly, I cannot hear well. I'm sorry. Any other wireless mic we can use?
Can I ask my current employer to transfer the 401k to the Islamic finance while I'm working, or do I need to wait till I retire to transfer that?
It depends on the policy of your employer and the policy of the investment company. There is no one size fits all. It differs, but I mean, it's worth giving it a try. Talk to your employer, talk to your investment company, and find out. Maybe the best option is to roll over your account to like a Muslim-owned mutual fund company, especially if you know them very well. You know that they do have, you know, knowledgeable individuals on their board supervising what they do. That will be a good option. Sure. طيب تفضل. I'm not sure, Akhi, what does the money market account have to do with our discussion? Any individual who wants to have any kind of investment, okay, in the stock market has to have money market account. Money market account actually is a combination of checking account and saving account at the same time. It is actually an interest like generating account. It is a kind of saving account, but with the limited access. So again, it has some of the features of the checking account, some of the features of the saving account. You cannot like withdraw every day. You are limited to a certain amount of checks, you know, you can write. But my point here is that you cannot proceed with any business in the stock market without having money market account. So you can open, well, you have to open money market account, but you need to limit it to settlement purposes only. Like you receive money, you pay money, you receive money, you pay money. Any interest generated through the money market account is to be disposed. Any interest generated through the money market account is to be disposed, because this is a straightforward saving account, interest bearing account. It's not allowed. However, because of the haja or darura, whatever you want to call it, because again, you cannot proceed with any business in the stock market without having money market account, then you can open it. I know. تفضل أخي. All the way in the back, but I don't think I can hear you. It's just أخي يعني statistics and data collection issue. In MJ actually we did not say that you need to limit yourself to 30%. We said that you need to go with the minimum, and I think our fatwa is more accurate than Ayofi fatwa. Ayofi said, okay, if the debt asset ratio is 30% or more, based on experience, based on database that they have, right? That it is hard to find a profitable stock if the debt asset ratio is less than 30%. عرفتها؟ No, like according to you, the juristic justification is to go with the minimum haram available. فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم. That's why again, Amjad said you need to go with the minimum debt asset ratio, with the minimum interest bearing investment, with the minimum interest generated money in an account. So for example, if you do have two different stocks, right? One of them does have 30% debt asset ratio, and the other one has 20%, and the 20% one actually is profitable, is reasonable enough profitability wise. Believe it or not, you cannot go with the 30% one, because the less haram one actually is there. Okay. Likewise, if you have a 20% and you have 10%, if the 10% is profitable enough, you cannot go with the 20%. You just go with the minimum. That is the juristic justification according to you. طيب تفضل. Can you? How come that you sell something that you do not own? But they are not your stocks. I mean, you sell something that you do not own. Did they allow you to sell the stocks on their behalf? What if you have sold them with loss, not with a profit? You took 100 stocks from Apple, okay? When you took them, the market value of each, or the price of each stock, was $100, right? So you have taken on papers $10,000. Is that correct? You sold them for $11,000. I will put it in hold أخي. I do not have an answer for it. طيب تفضل يا جماعة الأخوات. نعم تفضل. طيب do you think we can have one conversation please, if you don't mind? One conversation. تفضل. No. You put it in the masjid, you give it to needy individuals, but you do not benefit from that money. You cannot spend it on yourself or your dependents. But can you put it in the masjid? Yes, you can. Because that money is haram for you, and it's not haram for the masjid. It's just the money. No. You are not paying zakat al-mal, you are disposing the haram money. No. طيب, we do have a lot of topics actually to cover, so we need to move on. تفضل. Well, it depends on what kind of real estate business. Is it financing real estate, or just purchasing real estate properties, holding them, renting them, waiting for the appreciation, and then you sell them for a profit? So again, there is no one size fits all. We need to dig in depth and find out what do you mean by real estate business, right? If it is flipping homes, for example, building, like constructing, buying rental properties, that should be halal, right? But if you are financing exclusively for real estate, like those mortgage companies affiliated with the construction companies, right? I mean, you can count them as real estate, but on the real life, like on the ground, they are just financing company. So we need to dig in depth and find out the nature of the business that they do in order for us to give an answer. طيب. I have a lot to say about insurance. I mean, can we move on? تفضل. One more time, sir. Yeah, that's called the threshold, or the nisab, which is 85 grams of gold. 85 grams of gold in the zakat due date. 85 grams of gold, 24 karat, like the 100%. So 85 times, how much is the gram of gold, sisters? You are the expert here. 24 karat. $60? 60? You just purchased gold for your wife recently, right? That's why you know. So the nisab actually is 5,100. Be on the safe side and just go with 5,000. Which means that if you do have net amount, not a gross amount, net amount in a sense that after deducting all the debts and the loans and the payables, right, and whatever you need for that particular month, and the payments that you have to pay for the mortgage, for the installment for your car, whatever, like, payments due, right? If the net amount you have is still $5,000 or more, then you have to pay zakat. A common mistake here, that if you do have $30,000. Some people actually they exclude the 5,000 and they pay zakat on the extra amount on top of the threshold, which is wrong, right? If you do have 35,000, you pay zakat on the 30,000, right? But if you have less than 5,000, then you are zakat exempt for this year. Yeah, if you have 5,000 or more, that's the threshold, right? If you have less than 5,000, no zakat due. You can pay zakat, but you don't have to pay zakat, right? If you have 5,000 or more, then you pay zakat on everything, not on the extra or the surplus on top of the nisab. No, you pay zakat on everything. طيب. Okay, zakat is to be calculated based on the remaining income, not on the generated income. Remaining income in a sense that you make only 50,000 a year. In the month of Ramadan, you spent everything. Well, if there is no money, then nothing to worry about, right? If you make 50,000 and you saved, you still have in your checking account $5,000 or more, then you have to pay zakat on them. By the way, some people think that hawalan al-hawl, like the passage of one fiscal lunar year, means that every single like paycheck has to stay in your possession for one complete year. This is wrong. No. If you work as an employee, as a professional, you experience cash flow every single month or every 2 weeks you receive a paycheck, right? Do not track those payments. Do not. Just get your money spent bil ma'roof, right? And wait until the month of Ramadan. Okay? If in the month of Ramadan you still have 5,000 or more, even if some of that money just came a few hours before the beginning of Ramadan, they are still zakatable. That's called al-mal al-mustafad, or the extra money. If your main source of income is you work as an attorney, as a MD, as consultant, as an engineer, you have your own like a professional service, and you experience cash flow almost on daily basis. Every single day you receive payments from your clients. You don't have to keep track of every single payment and wait for it, because actually if you go with this with this logic, you're gonna end up having 300 plus zakat due date, right? So if your source of income is the money that you make from the law firm that you have, right? Every single dollar that you have in your account, net amount after deducting everything, is zakatable. Even if you have received maybe a check of $25,000 just one night or one day before the beginning of Ramadan, you just deposit the money. Next day in the morning it was Ramadan. Is that check 25,000 zakatable? Yes, it is, because actually it came from the same source of income. So hawalan al-hawl means the passage of one lunar year on the nisab itself, and whatever actually comes on top of the nisab takes the same ruling of the nisab. Is that clear, Jama'ah? Clear? طيب. This is actually not the case. Who was asking the question? It's you? It's not the case. It's not the case if you have an irregular source of income. So you work as an attorney, right? Every single dollar that you have in your checking account is coming from the law firm. So far so good. You inherited $500,000 from one of your relatives in the month of Rajab or month of Muharram, and it's now Ramadan after a few days. Okay, you inherited $500,000. Do you have to include $500,000, okay, with your money that came from the law firm? No, you don't have to, because this is a different source of income. This is a very irregular source of income. You establish a hawl, like lunar fiscal lunar year, for that $500,000. You receive that money in the month of Rajab, right? Month of Muharram. You wait until the month of Rajab of next year and you pay zakat on it. So you're gonna end up having how many hawl zakat due date? 2. One regular for the regular source of income that you have, and the one for the irregular. Make sense? Right. Can we move on, ya Jama'ah? We have a lot to discuss. We're going to talk about life insurance. Life insurance. تفضل هاي. One more time, please. You can, but no, I do not recommend, because if you want to go with the silver, it's going to be way less and silver is not prevailing and usable nowadays like gold. So let's go with the gold. That's more beneficial for the needy. If you want to go with the silver, most of us here, I mean, or some of us might not pay zakat. So let's go with the gold, which is $5,000. No, you're right. You're right. I take it back. Yeah, gold akhi is more prevailing. Gold is more prevailing. Yeah, it is the opposite. I'm wrong. Gold is more prevailing. So if you want to go with the silver, you might have a nisab maybe less than $2,000, right? You can do that, but it's not feasible for the zakat payers. I take it back. It's not feasible for the zakat payers, right? So just go with the gold. It is I think, you know, it is safe enough. No. Zakatable in full. Zakatable in full minus the tax that you have to pay, or the penalty. Do you have to pay penalty or tax on it? Do you have to? Okay. If it is 529, if it is AGMA account, AGMA for the minors, if it is IRA, it is taxable. So if you decide to withdraw the money, right, you will be taxed. You will be charged tax. So you do the math and you find out how much is the net amount. How much is the net amount, right? And you pay zakat on it. No. طيب. Ready for the insurance? Hold your breath. What was that? تفضل. Yeah. Yes, akhi. As long as you do have an access, even if you will be penalized, even if you will be charged penalty out of withdrawing from your retirement account, it's still accessible, right? You do have a very limited access, 50%, 40%, depends on the policy of your investment company. But it's not untouchable in full. No, it is accessible. It is withdrawable. So that's why we said you go with the withdrawable amount. Just you know, theoretical math. Just have a pen and paper and find out how much you have, okay, like, you know, total value, and how much you have an access to, and how much you will be penalized if you proceed, if you withdraw, and how much you will be having to pay as maybe tax, as penalty, processing fees, administration fees, whatever. Do the math, and the net amount actually is still zakatable. No, you go with the withdrawal amount. How much you have in your 401k? Give me just number. 500,000. How much access you have to? 50%? No, give me a percentage. Tell me that, okay, I have an access to. So can you withdraw everything that you have? And you will be penalized. So the $500,000 are accessible in full, 100%. However, if you decide to withdraw the $500,000 that you have, you will be charged tax and penalty. Well, do the math and find out the net amount and pay the account. Clear? طيب. I'm gonna charge you penalty. تفضل. It's an area of specialization. In the same way that you hold a degree in engineering or medicine or IT, I do hold a degree in Islamic studies and Islamic finance in particular. It means that I'm qualified enough, I'm knowledgeable enough in the 4 different madhab, and because of my qualification, I just pick and choose the opinion that I think it is the more authentic one and the easier one at the same time for my community. Good enough? As I said, Akhil Karim, it is an area of specialization. I mean, you spend 10, 12 years studying and holding degrees in this field until you become qualified. Let me ask you this. When you get sick and you go to your doctor, right, and he prescribes for your medicine, do you ask him the same question? Do your patients ask you the same question? They do not, right? Do you know why? Because they trust you. You are a certified physician. You're practicing like physician in the USA. It means that you passed all the requirements, right? And you are certified, you qualified enough to, write a prescription. So you write a prescription, for patients. I write, prescription for wealthy individuals, what to pay zakat and what not. You can, yeah. Actually, yesterday I was asked the same question, right? What if I do not feel comfortable with your fatwa? And my answer was okay. Go ahead and ask somebody else, because like medicine wise, if I go to you, right, and I do not, with all due respect, I do not feel comfortable with the diagnosis and the prescription that you wrote for me, what should I do? I just seek a second opinion, right? Because actually my health is so precious for me. Likewise, if I'm not happy with the fatwa, or I have some doubt that this fatwa is so weird, or doesn't sound good, or it's so lenient or so conservative, maybe you can just ask other muftiin. You are not shopping for a fatwa, no, you are just looking for the truth, right? If you do not have confidence with that individual that you ask him, go and ask somebody else until you reach to a conclusion that what, this is this opinion makes a lot of sense to me, because I trust the mufti knowledge wise and commitment to deen wise. Because some mufti might be, they just give random fatwa without being even practicing or caring about about the fatwa that they say. Good enough? Okay. If you think that life insurance is halal, raise your hand. If you think that life insurance is halal, raise your hand. How about any kind of commercial insurance, like not government based, not mutual based, commercial insurance, like home insurance, like liability insurance, business insurance? If you think it is halal, raise your hand. طيب. If you think it is haram, raise your hand. Some people did not raise their hand like neither. كبر دماغه. طيب let's make okay, we do have a mainstream fatwa, and this mainstream fatwa actually is well established and well respected, right? However, from day one, like back in the 60s and the 70s of the last century, when insurance was entertained and discussed on a scholarly level, since that time we did actually have well established and well documented otherwise opinions. So my first point here is that there is no unanimity, there is no consensus from day one regarding the status of insurance in general, right? We do have like a mainstream fatwa, okay, primary fatwa if you wish, and a secondary fatwa, right? Primary fatwa is well established, it is the mainstream opinion, it is the fatwa up to date by all the different fiqh councils and sharia advisory boards, okay? Now that mainstream fatwa goes as you see here, and that's why, you know, I call this slide like a semi-consensus, like the vast majority, maybe more than 95% of scholars since the 1970s, 70 plus, whenever they started, you know, discussing the insurance, right, and issuing fatwa, are with the opinion of the following. So the semi-consensus amongst fiqh councils that commercial insurance, okay, is a transaction that involves, number one, ambiguity. Ambiguity means that, for example, you pay premium to the car insurance company, right? And you do not know whether or not you will be compensated. You might drive your car for years and years, alhamdulillah, without getting involved in any car accident, right? So you do not get anything in return. They say, not me, they say that you pay a premium and you do not know whether or not you will be compensated. So this is a kind of gharar. I mean, you have to know from day one how much you have to pay and how much you will be getting in return. This is in general, according to the principles of Islamic finance. They said that there is a kind of misrepresentation, in a sense, they call it jahala. Jahala means that ما علم وجوده ولم تعلم صفته أو قدره, which means that if you do have health insurance, you as a human being, you will be getting sick, right? And you will be going to the doctor, but you do not know, okay, in return for those $1,000 that you pay as a premium every single month, will you be paid back $500 or $5 million? You do not know. So you know for a fact that you will be compensated, you will be paid back, but you do not know how much. That's the technical difference between al-jahala and al-gharar. So al-gharar ما لم يعلم وجوده من عدمه, والجهالة ما علم وجوده وجهلت صفته أو قدره. Very close to one another. They say that when you get involved in life insurance in particular, it involves a kind of interest. You pay less, okay? You pay less and you receive more. You pay only $200 a month, right? $200 a month, and upon your death, your family members will be receiving a very wet check of $1 million. So the total that you paid, like during your lifetime, maybe $5, $7, $10,000, and they received $1 million, more or less. So that's a kind of interest, right? You pay less and you receive more. You are selling money for money. This is actually their interpretation. They said that it has like a semi-gambling nature, as if you are gambling, right? Because of those like different reasons, the mainstream fatwa was established back in the 1970s that any kind of any kind of commercial insurance, it's not government-based insurance. And when we say government-based in the USA, who can give me an example of government-based? No, government-based. Thank you. Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid. all these three different systems actually are a kind of very good example of government-based insurance. You pay a premium to the Social Security, okay? Within certain criteria, you will be eligible to receive certain amount, right? Whether like after you get retired or based on like disability or death. If you pass away, your family members will be eligible for certain payment for certain period of time. Medicare is the same. Medicaid with D is the same. You pay a premium in order for you to receive, a certain, certain kind of compensation. It doesn't have to be cash money, but someone actually will be taking care of your medical bills, will be paying the bills on your behalf, or you will be getting medical treatment for free. But this is a government-based. Why this kind of differentiation? They say that the government actually is not aiming a profit. The government is not running this business for profit. It's not for-profit business. It's a service that they provide for their citizens. So they are not aiming to make money out of your money. This is their justification. So based on the mainstream fatwa, they said that any kind of glitch or deficiency, whether it is ambiguity or jahala or interest or gambling, it could be overlooked or even ignored because the contract is not for profit. The contract is based on cooperation between people, like supporting one another. There is no profit motive behind it. Let me put it this way, right? And based on that, any kind of violation, any kind of glitches in the contract, in the insurance contract, should be overlooked when it comes to government-based insurance. And it should be overlooked if it is a mutual-based insurance company. Mutual-based means that the stockholders and the policyholders are the same. Stockholders and the policyholders are the same. If it is a stock-based insurance company, no, it means that we do have two different bodies. We have the stockholders, right, the owners, and we have the policyholders, and always there is a conflict of interest between the two. Stockholders, the owners of the company, they want to get as much money from you as possible, and they want to pay you as less as possible. Now, from your perspective as a policyholder, you strive, you do your best to pay as less as possible and to get compensated as much as possible. So there is a clear conflict of interest, right? According to the mainstream fatwa, any kind of government-based insurance or mutual-based insurance are halal. Halal because there is no profit motive if it is a government, and there is no two different bodies in the structure of the insurance company, because every single stockholder is a shareholder. So whatever profit, like extra surplus they have toward the end of the year, will be distributed between the stockholders, who are by default the policyholders. So your money will be paid back to you, right? They said, well, this is a halal one. Anything of otherwise, any kind of insurance of otherwise, is haram by default because of the ambiguity, because of the gharar, because of the jihal, because of the riba, because of the gambling. Now this is actually the juristic, where is the brother there? Juristic justification, التأصيل الفقهي للمعاملة. So that's a government and a mutual insurance. According to the mainstream, there are two other types of general structure of insurance that are permissible: government sponsored, cooperative, or mutual insurance. Now here is the difference between the stock versus the mutual insurance. Have you heard about mutual liberty? Have you heard about Lafayette life insurance? Lafayette, it is a mutual based life insurance company. Lafayette, Louisiana. So stock insurance primary purpose is to provide return to shareholders. So we do have owners of the company who are just waiting toward the end of the year to get all the profit or the extra money that was not paid back, to cover the healthcare expenses or those who passed away, paying their family members. Versus the mutual insurance purpose is to provide value to policyholders. So we have shareholders and policyholders. Policyholders in the mutual insurance are the shareholders. So we do not have two different sub bodies. It is only one body, right? That's exactly like when you are a member in a credit union. Here you go, credit union, right? Credit union actually is a kind of bank, but it is a mutual based bank. So all the stockholders of the credit union are the policyholders, are the account holders. So the same body. There is no conflict of interest. Moving on. I was actually with the mainstream fatwa all the way till 2015, 2016. I was saying that any kind of government-based insurance or mutual-based insurance is halal. Any kind of commercial insurance is haram. To be honest, even if you want to go with the mainstream fatwa, which is again well established and well respected, right? Even if you want to go with the mainstream fatwa, they say that if you are compelled or you are obligated by the law of the land to have commercial insurance, you can have it. For example, liability insurance. You cannot drive your car without having liability insurance, right? If you are in desperate need for business insurance, you practice medicine in the USA, like the doctor here, you cannot actually practice safely without having business insurance. What if one of your clients, la samahullah, like filed a case against you in the court? You might, lose your license, you might lose your wealth. Everything is subject to be lost. So they said that as long as there is either legal obligation that you have by the law of the land to have liability insurance, or if it is based on desperate need, okay, you live like in a flood zone area in Houston, Texas, and Louisiana, for example, okay, and there is a high possibility that your house might be just flooded, and you need, for example, flood insurance, you can go ahead and buy it. They say that even if the life insurance is offered by your employer as a part of the package that you receive, that would be halal as well. So to be honest with you all, they do have a lot of flexibility when it comes to exceptions from the default rule. But they establish that any kind of commercial insurance, stock-based commercial insurance, is haram by default, unless there is a necessity, unless there is a legal obligation, unless there is a desperate need for it. If you give me maybe just a few minutes until I finish, I will just. Okay, now we need to ask a question here. Is those assumptions of the mainstream fatwa, are they correct? Are they accurate? Do they make sense from a fiqh perspective? With all due respect, I do believe otherwise. And when I say that I believe otherwise, I'm not the first one to not to negate, but to disagree with the mainstream fatwa. And actually the sheikh or the pioneer of those who believe otherwise was Sheikh Mustafa al-Zarq rahmatullah alayh. Sheikh Mustafa al-Zarq is a Hanafi Syrian faqih who passed away I think 25 years ago. He was a member in different fiqh councils, and from day one, okay, when the insurance was actually discussed on a scholarly level, he was very clear from day one that insurance is a halal, is a sharia compliant concept. And he made a very good argument. I went to his book and read it twice. He has a book called التأمين تعريفه حكمه نظامه. It's about insurance. He raised a very good argument. He said, what is the difference? Listen to this. What is the difference between you contracting the Social Security Administration in the USA by giving them $100 a month deducted automatically from your paycheck? Okay, if you do have that account, they are telling you, okay, do not worry, if something happened to you, if you pass away, rest in peace, do not worry, we will take care of your family members after your death. We will take care of your family. Your wife will be entitled to such and such amount, $500 till the end of her life, and your kids will be paid $400 until the age of 18, and then $200 until the age of 24, whatever the details might be. So he says that this is a bilateral agreement. That's a aqd, right? That's a legal contract, in a sense that Social Security Administration is not doing you a favor. No one actually is giving you a sadaqah or donation, right? There is no cooperation here. No, it's not. It's a legal contract. If you commit yourself to paying the premium, you are entitled to receive the insurance benefit. It's a legal agreement. It is a bilateral agreement. He said What is the difference between this approach and the life insurance company who is telling you, listen, if you pay me $100 every single month and you pass away, rest in peace, do not worry, I will take care of your family members. Instead of paying them periodically every month based on age, I'm gonna just have a peace of mind and write you one-time check, $1 million. So in the Social Security, Medicare or Medicaid, that's a bilateral agreement. You pay premium, you receive the insurance benefit. If you pass away, for whatever reason might be, without having Social Security account, for whatever reason, like for me, for example, when I came 22 years ago, I was on R1 visa. R1 visa means cleric or religious worker. Those people actually are exempt from having Social Security. So I stayed in the USA for years and years without having Social Security. So you are not mandated by the law. Every single individual has to have it. This is incorrect. So he says that this is a bilateral agreement. If you do not have an account with the Social Security and then you passed away, are they going to sympathize with your family members? Are they going to say, well, so and so person was a very nice individual, he served the community, he deserved a lot of support, let's give money to his family members? Would that happen? It will never happen, because there was no contract between you and the Social Security. There was no bilateral agreement between them. Likewise, if you contract life insurance company, whether a mutual based or stock based, it means that there is a bilateral agreement. If and only if you pay them $100, right, every month, and if you pass away, you will be entitled, like your family members, will be entitled for $1 million. And he asked a very simple question, very innocent question: what is the difference? Based on what you claim that, oh, this is a government based, okay, and that's why it is halal, and this is a mutual based, that's halal. If you zoom in, okay, to the actual legal contract, you will find out that all different kinds of insurance, whether government based or mutual based or stock based, whether it is life insurance, health insurance, liability insurance, what else, business insurance, any kind of insurance, right? At the end of the day, every single insurance agreement is a bilateral agreement. Okay, you pay money, you receive money. If you do not pay money, you are out. So he said that all these different kinds of insurance are bilateral agreements. And if you, the mainstream fatwa, if you permit Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and you prohibit life insurance, you need to show me the difference. What is the difference between the two? And there was no answer. So he established his own madhab from day one, that any kind of insurance is halal by default, regardless whether it is government based, mutual based, stock based. It does not make any difference. Life insurance, liability, every single kind of insurance is a bilateral agreement. It's a legally binding agreement. You pay a premium in order for you to receive compensation, regardless of the details. Since 2016 or 17, actually, I officially changed my madhab, my opinion, and I'm now actually with the opinion that insurance actually is a halal agreement by default. Yani you don't have to look for darura or haja to permit for. Well, it is halal by default. It is halal. Personally, I do have my own life insurance policy. If I'm to die today or tomorrow, next day in the morning, the insurance company will write a check for my family members, $1 million. And I do not see any difference. I might be wrong, Allahu Alam. I do not see any difference between life insurance and Social Security Administration. Furthermore, for people in the USA or in the West in general, I would highly recommend that if you believe that my opinion is correct, you just go ahead and have a life insurance as soon as possible. Remember the initial discussion when we were talking about the financial stability. You need to make sure that you are financially stable yourself and your family members during your lifetime and after your death. If you believe that this opinion actually is authentic enough, then go ahead and purchase your own life insurance. Number of scholars who are changing their mind and saying that insurance is halal by default actually is increasing rapidly. Number of scholars who are changing their mind. Well, even al-Majami' al-Fiqh, even the fiqh councils are like, getting more and more lenient. Way back in the 1970s, they said, okay, it's haram because it is riba. You pay less and receive more. And then after 10, 15 years, they said, oh, hold on, you know what? It's not riba. Riba actually is different. Okay, it is haram because of gharar and jahala, and whatever is prohibited because of the gharar and jahala could be permitted based on need. 17 years ago, he said, oh, hold on, the insurance actually is not non-for-profit agreement. It's not uqud tabarruat. It is uqud ta'awun. It is a cooperative contract, right? Wait just maybe 5-10 years, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extend my life and your life all, you will see and hear those fiqh councils are changing their opinion more and more, and they're going to reach to a conclusion that insurance actually is a halal by default agreement. It's not aqdu bay', it's not a sale agreement, it's not a lease, it's none of the above. It's like a brand new innovated contract that brings benefit to the society at large. It reduces the financial risk of individuals regardless of the details. If you pay $150 every single month to the life insurance and then you pass away, your family members actually will be getting $1 million, right? If you believe that Social Security is halal, then by default any kind of life insurance should be halal. Or otherwise, if you want to prohibit life insurance, then by default Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid should be haram as well, because there is no difference between the two examples. All of them are just bilateral agreements. You pay a premium, you are entitled to receive insurance benefit. No premium paid, nothing to be received in return. Wallahu alam. That's my opinion. I absolutely might be wrong. To the best of my knowledge, I do believe that insurance actually is a halal agreement by default, and I highly recommend my brothers and sisters in this society actually to have life insurance as soon as possible. Do not wait one single day, because actually you are jeopardizing the well-being and the financial stability of your good self and your family members. Wallahu alam. Okay, let's take questions only about insurance, please. Do I have to pay zakah on the insurance money? Well, wait until you pass away, inshallah we'll talk about it. تفضل يا أختي. Where are you from? Do you have نظام التقاعد هناك, نظام المعاش in Egypt? المعاش تقاعد. Okay. Based on what? Do you think that نظام المعاش in Egypt is halal? Sister, I'm not putting you in this spot. I'm just having like intellectual conversation, right? Do you believe that نظام المعاش, the social security system in Egypt, is it halal or haram? Let me ask you the question in a different way. الأصل في المعاملات الإباحة. The presumption is that all the transactions are halal by default unless otherwise proven, right? Unlike the ibadat you have to go with the book. صلوا كما رأيتم وصلوا. Now, do you have a clear evidence that insurance as a system, as a concept, not as a practice? I might agree with you that a lot of insurance companies might take advantage of their clients, might squeeze their budget, they abuse them, exploit them. That's very, very possible. But I'm discussing the concept itself. What is wrong with the insurance as a concept? If you know from day one that once I sign the agreement and I start paying the premium, okay, there is no ambiguity here, there is no misrepresentation. I know what I will be getting in return. It is actually the assurance that upon your death, لا سمح الله بعد عمر طويل, upon your death, you will be receiving $1 million. So there is no ambiguity here. I'm just having a peace of mind. Whenever I'm laid down in my grave, I will be having a peace of mind that alhamdulillah there is $1 million, enough for my family members to survive for the next 5-10 years. You see? So there is no ambiguity. I disagree with the concept itself. There is no like ambiguity. There is no misrepresentation. There is no gambling. Gambling is completely different. You buy just a ticket for $5-10 to like to win, 100,000 more or less. It's not the case. When I purchase a life insurance policy, I'm acting maturely. I'm acting in a very prudent way. Okay, I'm looking forward to provide source of income for my family members upon my death. So the reason behind, the logic behind it actually is completely different. So there is no ambiguity, there is no misrepresentation, there is no riba, right? It is a brand new agreement that people actually created from scratch. They just came up with, right? And it serves well. It is in a clear compliance with the Islamic principles or maqasid al-Sharia, which is actually to have a peace of mind and to assure the well-being of the residents or the citizens of the society. What does life insurance mean? It means that there is a huge like virtual pool of money where every single individual here actually is pitching in $100 every single month, $100, okay, with the agreement that if someone of us passes away, he or she will be like entitled, or his family members will be receiving $100,000, right? What's wrong with that? Now, with the fact that those organizers, right, are taking a profit or taking, salaries, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, is the profit motive haram in Islam? Well, it is not. However, let me just make a very clear disclaimer that my opinion might be wrong. Allahu Alam, I do not know. Okay, as a professional student of knowledge, I wholeheartedly believe that insurance, okay, as a concept, as a contract, is a halal one, and it serves the best interest of the society. Allah. Well, the concept is that al-aslu fil uqud al-ibah. Default rule is that all contracts, all agreements, all kind of partnership, all kind of enterprise, any kind of business that you do is halal by default, unless otherwise proven. Then now you have to take the responsibility of proving the prohibition of the insurance and not otherwise. Because actually I'm going with the default rule. You are the one who's saying otherwise. So you are responsible for providing the dalil and not me. Moving on, تفضل حبيبي. طيب أخي, when we say that life insurance, like assuming that you agree with me, life insurance is halal, doesn't mean that every single policy is halal. Some options within the life insurance, term life insurance, whole life insurance, might be haram. I came across a policy. It's a kind of investment slash retirement account slash insurance. So they are like 3 in 1, right? They give you the insurance benefit. They give you the cash advance. Cash advance means all the premium that you have paid during your lifetime will be paid back to your family members. And they give you interest on top of the cash advance. So the insurance benefit is halal, my opinion. The cash advance or the cash back that you receive is halal. The interest that you receive on top of the cash is not halal. You see? So let's draw a line between permitting insurance as a concept, as a new contract, versus the technical tiny details and the options that you have within the insurance policy. You might have, some of those options are not halal. Allahu Akbar. طيب, do we all have Social Security account? All of us here? Are we positive that the Social Security Administration is investing the money in a halal way? So let's draw a line between the permissibility of the agreement versus what comes after it. How do they invest the money? Are they taking advantage of people or not? That's a completely different discussion. Now we are focusing actually on the essence, on the nature, on the genesis of the issue, which is the agreement itself. It's a bilateral agreement. Premium from your side, insurance benefit from the insurance company side. Are we in agreement here? And this concept applies to every and each each and every single insurance agreement, whether government based, whether mutual based, whether stock based, it is the same. Clear؟ طيب. تفضل. Well, if the life insurance is halal, then anything else should be halal. Take it easy. Unilateral agreement is like your wasiyah, like you write in your wasiyah, for example, upon my death, I want to donate for this masjid $10,000. This is actually a kind of aqd or agreement or commitment, one-sided agreement. The zakat that you pay is not a unilateral. It is a unilateral agreement, not bilateral agreement, right? The zakat that you pay, the sadaqah that you give, the hadiyah that you give to others is just unilateral agreement. It is one-sided commitment. But this one actually is bilateral. It is legally binding agreement. It's a contract. You pay me this, I will pay you this. You pay me this and you pass away, I'm going to pay you this. You pay me this amount, and if you become disabled or handicapped, I'm going to pay you this. If you keep paying me until the age of 85 or 70 or 75 and nothing happened to you, I'm going to keep the money for myself. Are you okay with that? You say yes. Sign, we're good to go. So it is a brand new agreement that people actually created for the best interest of the society. By the way, if you want to be in the safe side, you want to hold the stick from the middle, you want to have life insurance company without violating the mainstream fatwa, what should you do? How can you have a life insurance policy without violating the mainstream fatwa? $10, huh? وكان buy term insurance. Nice try. No, nice try. Huh? In the back, go ahead. No, my question is clear. How can you purchase life insurance policy without violating the mainstream fatwa? We all depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. عرفت أخي? A part of our depending on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to take the possible measures, عرفت, to be financially stable. That's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not allow. طيب جزاك الله. تفضل. جزاك الله خير. تكبير. No, big تكبير. جزاك الله خير. What's your name أخي? Safe, S-A-F-E, safe. Oh, or safe like sword, right? MashaAllah. طيب جزاك الله. So if you want to be in the safe side, if you want to have life insurance without violating the mainstream fatwa, you just pick and choose a life insurance policy offered by mutual based company. Lafayette, for example. Lafayette, I think they do have Lafayette life insurance. طيب, any other question? تفضل. Uh, if people of knowledge are to change their opinion, it's not because this is the law of the land. It is not. It is because their ijtihad or independent reasoning, their knowledge, their experience is changing and increasing as they go. Take me as an example. Back in 1994-95, I was a graduate student in Yarmouk University doing my master's in Islamic economics, and I published a research paper. It's still actually available until today in the Azhar University academic journal, and I concluded that مصرف الزكاة في سبيل الله, you know the 8 different categories in the صدقات الفقراء. في سبيل الله means for military jihad purposes, military like actual physical jihad purposes. And I came to the USA back in 2000. I was with the opinion that you cannot pay zakat al-mal under the category fi sabilillah to build a masjid or to maintain a masjid or to help an Islamic school or to pay your zakat to guidance college. You cannot, right? Down the road, right? Getting older, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, more knowledgeable, more experienced, after like debating and consulting with my colleagues in AMJA, attending conferences, I said, you know what, my previous opinion actually is incorrect. We do have a lot of flexibility, but I did not change my mind because of the law of the land. No, I changed my mind because actually my knowledge is increasing and my experience in life is increasing. Now 53 years old, I'm completely different, right? Completely different from myself, like 25 or 30 years back. And that's something natural, expected. I don't have like to stick to my opinion even if I think it is wrong. This is fiqh, ijtihad, another independent reasoning. You study, you debate, you go to different madhab, you find a way. Now, because of my experience after 22 years, right, I found out that the mainstream fatwa, wallah, with all due respect, even our fiqh council, AMJA, until today is with the mainstream fatwa. And that's why I started with what? Out of respect. I started with what? With the mainstream fatwa. And I, explained where are they coming from, the juristic justification, right? And then I mentioned my own opinion. And then I made a disclaimer that, you know what, I might be wrong, Allahu Akbar, but this is to the best of my knowledge. It's not the law of the land, no, it is not. It is the ijtihad and the knowledge. Because if you open the floor for the law of the land, you're gonna end up losing your Muslim identity. Right? Illegitimate relationship between people of different gender is halal. It's not an option for us, right? And so on. So I mean, this is just a like random example. So we do not go with the law of the land if it is in a clear contradiction with our deen, right? We respect the law of the land. We abide by the law of the land. We have to abide by the law of the land because this is actually a part of the agreement that we American citizens having with the American government, right? Very good example, polygamy, right? Is it halal in Islam or not? Say it. Is your wife here? No, say it. Okay. Polygamy is halal. We are not expected, we are not supposed to practice polygamy in the USA. Why? Because it is prohibited by the law of the land. And when you refrain from polygamy, you are not violating your deen. I mean, it's just an option. It is halal. Like if you think that you need to have another wife in your life, that's your call. But because of living in this society, you are not expected, you are not supposed, to be a polygamist or to have a second wife, because that's against the law of the land. You see the difference between the two? So the bottom line here is that the ijtihad actually might develop progress based on knowledge, based on experience, but it has nothing to do with we do not change our mind because of the law of the land. No, we do not. طيب تفضل حبيبي. والله يا أخي, I cannot, I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. You need to come closer or speak up. Is what? No حبيبنا هو social security is a default agreement. Like if you want to work in corporate America or you want to work in the USA and you are not exempted like me R1 visa 20 years ago, then you should have, by the law of the land, you should be a part of the social security system. So the fact that you did not sign an agreement doesn't mean that there is no agreement. This is a part of the like your employment agreement. You have to pay federal tax, you have to pay social security, you have to pay Medicare, right? Those three different deductions are taken automatically from your paycheck. So there is an agreement. It doesn't have to be like a written signed by you and by the government. No, but it is there. It is a part of the system. عرفت أخي? And if you believe that social security is haram, right? Just for discussion purposes, then you have to limit yourself to the premium that you have paid during your lifetime. Let's say that you paid $7,000. Allah forbid something happened, you became, la samah Allah, you became handicapped. According to your opinion, you're supposed to receive, like the first $7,000 you receive from the social security is halal. Anything after that is haram because you are taking more than what you have paid, right? Are you willing to compromise the rest of the payment? No, say it yes or no. Say yes or no. No أخي take it. كلوه هنيئا مريئا. It is halal. It is halal. طيب can we طيب تفضل. Well, there is nothing called Islamic insurance to start with. I do not believe in the takaful. There is nothing called Islamic insurance. There is nothing called takaful. Takaful is a bilateral agreement. Takaful is a contract between you and the insurance company. You pay premium, you receive insurance payment. Okay, labeling it as takaful, as ta'awun, I mean like those big terms, I mean do not make any difference. Okay, maybe the closest I would say structure, okay, if you want to make sure that you are operating as just as fair as possible, is to go with the mutual based insurance, okay, where the surplus or the extra money is distributed back to the policy holders. I mean, this brings more justice, right? More peace of mind, more fairness. But it doesn't mean that going with a stock based insurance company is haram, because the profit motive, waiting for the profit or the surplus to be taken by the stockholders, is halal. I mean, I do not see any problem with it. So those who promote and advertise for what is called halal insurance, with all due respect, I disagree with them. All insurance actually is halal. All insurance is halal. No problem. Yes, Sahih, because that is the commitment. I mean that is the nature of the agreement. Once you sign an agreement and you start paying, then you are entitled, to receive the insurance money. Let me ask you this: what if you spend what if you have a term insurance and you kept paying premium for 20 years and you stayed alive after that? What will happen? You're going to lose all the money. But this is not haram, akhi. Do you know why? Because during those 20 years you are having a peace of mind that if and only if I pass away, insurance company is committed to paying my family members $1 million. Let me give an example. Do you see those like VIP who hire bodyguards, right? Like presidents and like CEOs and okay. What does the bodyguard do throughout the whole month long? Well, what do they do? I mean, you might spend one complete month without being endangered, without being like subject to any danger, and they just keep just like accompanying you. They spend the whole day long just drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, doing nothing, right? Do they deserve the salary that they get paid? Yes, because they committed to support or to help you in case of danger, right? So there is a commitment from their side. If and only if Someone tried to like assault you or to kill you, I'm gonna defend you. Give me $5,000 every year, and I will be with you like all the time. So it's a kind of commitment. Insurance company is telling you, give me this amount of money, and if you die, do not worry, I will take care of your family members. Simple as that. No, I think the analogy is different because this is an interest-bearing loan. This is a straightforward interest-bearing loan, and we have evidences that lending money or borrowing money with interest is haram. So we cannot use the same analogy. They are different. We are not comparing apple to apple here. Allah, no. What's the difference between life insurance and social security? You did not answer my question. And social security is halal. What do you want to say? I'm not sure. No, what do you want to say? Yani, what is your point? Where is the ambiguity? From day one, akhi, once you sign the agreement and you start paying, okay, you are assured 100%, that's the meaning of insurance. You are assured that you will be receiving $1 million upon your death. Which is fine. You work for a company, right? And you sign an agreement for 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years. Your employer might terminate the agreement at any time. So you are not positive 100% how much you will be paid by the employer. You open a business, you do not know how much profit you will be making. You might make a profit, you might break even, you might incur loss. But this is not the ambiguity that is sufficient enough to prohibit the whole deal. It is not. Allah. It doesn't have to. It could be like whole insurance, could be term insurance. Whatever you agree upon. You feel more comfortable having whole insurance means that you keep paying throughout your whole lifetime, but you have to make sure, okay, that the insurance benefit is well known, right? It is $1 million, no more and less. One check, $1 million, that's it. Even if you do not know how much you will be getting in the return, it's still halal. Very good example, social security. Do you know how many years your wife and your kids will be living after you? Allah forbid. Okay, well, every single month they live, they deserve a certain amount of money, and we do not know for how long they're gonna live. Yet we believe that social security is halal. Likewise here. Make sense? طيب. We need to move on. We want to talk about mortgage and like mortgage companies. Any more questions? Insurance wise, any more questions? Doctor, you ask like too many questions. You need to take me for lunch after that. Go ahead. GoFundMe is just a platform or a vehicle to collect funds for certain purpose, and I highly recommend my community not to go with GoFundMe. because they are, excuse me, like very expensive and very abusive. I'm so sorry to say that. They take a full advantage of their customers. They charge like a very high percentage for the money that they collect. They take advantage, like they exploit, their customers big time. However, at the end of the day, it's just a vehicle, because you do not know those 5 million Muslims living in the USA, and you want to collect fund for someone who just passed away. So you just set an account with GoFundMe or Lunch Good, for example, and you collect fund. But my question, Akhi, why should we wait until we reach to that point where we pass like the bread makers, and we expect the community to set an account for my wife and my kids? Why should I put my wife and kids in that position? Why should I let my wife stand by the door of the masjid, like, stretching her hand waiting for sadaqah? Do I have to put my wife in that position? I don't have to. Okay. طيب. Can we move on? Thank you. Please go to guidancecollege.org and check our Masters in Islamic Economics and Finance. What I'm presenting here actually is like a free sample of one of the courses that we teach in the university. You will be getting a lot of knowledge, like you will build a very strong fiqh foundation, fiqh al-muamalat, fiqh of transaction, and you will be studying the finance system in the USA. So you will be like, combining both fiqh foundation in transactions and the contemporary finance system. Okay, you're gonna merge them together, combine them together. You will be graduating with masters in Islamic economics and finance. We do have another masters in Islamic education that has nothing to do with finance, and the bachelor's degree in Islamic studies. So those are the 3 different degrees that we have. I would highly recommend that you consider Guidance College for your Islamic education. طيب. Now, to understand the concept of mortgage, as I said yesterday, when you get involved in mortgage, it means that you are signing a sale agreement where you buy the house from the landlord, and you apply for a loan, interest-bearing loan from the mortgage company, because you cannot afford paying $500,000 cash for the house that you are interested in. And consequently, upon issuing that check to the landlord on your behalf, the mortgage company would put a lien on the property to secure their fund. We concluded that the lien agreement, عقد الرهن, is halal, and the sale agreement is halal, and the mortgage the loan agreement actually is the haram one. So the default rule is that mortgaging a house in the USA in a traditional way is not a halal option, period. Now, what is the Islamic alternative? We said yesterday, we mentioned the example of Muhammad and Abdullah, right? Islamic alternative is to make sure that there is an actual real ownership established or assumed by the mortgage company. You have to possess, you have to own before you sell the house. If it is murabaha, like they call it cost plus, right? You purchase the house for $500,000, you sell it back for $600,000 in installment. That's called murabaha, right? If you want to finance lease to own, you have to buy the house. You have to become the legal owner, the landlord of the house, and you sign that lease agreement with your customer. You should be responsible for the maintenance, for the tax, for the insurance. You are the owner of the property, and upon the completion of the lease agreement, you release that house or you sell it for $1 to your client, right? So if you want to go with the musharaka one, with the partnership, you have to make sure that you own the property before you proceed with leasing your share and allowing your customer to buy your shares gradually. So ownership actually is a very fundamental stipulation and condition for the validity and the permissibility of any mode of finance. Why ownership? Because once you own, you're supposed to be the liable individual for that property. And the Prophet ﷺ established that in a very precise hadith where he said ﷺ, Al-kharaju bil-daman, Okay, here is the one of the hadith. نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن بيع ما لم يقبض أو ما لم يقبض وعن ربح ما لم يضمن. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم prohibited selling, okay, forbade selling a purchased item that has not been collected. So the collection actually is the ownership, is the legal ownership. You have to assume that ownership in order for you to be the liable party. Because of the liability and the risk that you are taken out of like possessing a property, you do have the right to sell it for a profit. So we are not prohibiting anyone from making profit. We just want to make sure that you make profit in a halal way. You collect, you assume legal ownership, right? You become the liable party for that property before you sell it, if it is murabaha, before you lease it, if it is ijara, before you sell and lease it, if it is musharak. Okay. ونهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن بيع ما لم يقبض وعن ربح ما لم يضمن. He prohibited as well taking profit without taking liability. So this is a very fundamental condition for the permissibility of any kind of Islamic mode of finance. And this is absolutely against the mainstream practice in the USA. Because actually here, when you go to a mortgage company, you borrow money. And I think yesterday we took our time explaining the difference between the two different systems. If someone actually already gets involved in mortgaging a house in a haram way, if you trust and you do have a fatwa that a certain Islamic mortgage company is available and they are not taking big advantage of you, so you can refinance with them easily, go ahead and refinance. If not, you don't have to compromise the property. Just keep it as is and try to pay as much as you can. Way more than the monthly mortgage, because the extra you pay will be going toward the principal and consequently reduces the interest. So you keep the interest to the minimum. Of course, before you do that, sincere repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to be established. You need to admit guilty that you have done something wrong, and inshallah you will not be doing it again, and then you start looking for an alternative, either to refinance or otherwise just to like increase your monthly payment until you pay off the principal and the interest as soon as possible. We do have too much information. نعم. Yes, it's a 390 slide plus tax. Yeah, it's for everybody. The so-called Islamic mortgage companies in the US are one of two different kinds. Some of them are operating independently away from the secondary market, and some of them operating within the secondary market. Secondary market means we do have like two like major mortgage investment companies, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. They have been established by the federal government a while ago, and the reason behind them actually is to support retail banks getting enough liquidity. So what happens in the real life, once you mortgage a house with Wells Fargo, right? If the principal is $500,000 and the interest is $300,000 for the next 30 years, how much is the value of the contract? $800,000, right? Okay. They securitize. I mean, this is the name of the process. Securitization, like putting those contracts together and selling them to Freddie Mac. Freddie Mac actually buys that contract of $800,000 for maybe $750, $780, whatever. They give that bank cash money, right? Because banks do not have the ability or the luxury of waiting for you as a customer, as a retail customer, to pay them off within the next 30 years. They cannot afford that, right? So they sell that contract to those like الشركات العملاقة Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, and they get their money cash, discounted price. This process is 100% haram because they are selling money for money. They are selling $800,000 in our example for 750. That's a pure, straightforward haram process, haram deal. But this is actually what happens in reality. In order for Freddie Mac to buy those contracts, it has to make sure that the contract actually is a very traditional, conventional mortgage contract, which means that it has to indicate clearly that there is a principal and there is an interest, right? This is an interest-bearing loan. If they realize, or if they can deduct that, the mortgage company, the Islamic mortgage company, traditional mortgage company, is owning the property, liable for the tax, liable for the insurance, liable for the maintenance, they would say, you know what, you are by your own. Sorry, we cannot buy that contract. You need to show me a standard mortgage agreement, principal plus interest, period, no more and no less. And if you default, in proving that your contract actually is a very traditional one, you cannot sell it in the secondary market. Based on that, it is impossible for the so-called Islamic mortgage companies to establish a genuine and sound Islamic finance process or service for the Muslim community as long as they are dealing with the secondary market. Because if Freddie Mac is telling them you cannot own the house before you sell it, and the Islamic finance system and the bad guy, which is B, telling them you have to own the house before you sell it. So they have to own it and they have not to own it at the same time. Can they do that? They cannot, right? There is a severe incompatibility between the Islamic finance principles and the traditional finance principles, right? You cannot own the house in order for you to sell that contract to Freddie Mac, and you have to own it to be a Sharia compliant. So you have to own and you have not to own at the same time. This is actually the dilemma and the problem that those Islamic mortgage companies actually are putting themselves on. Islamic mortgage companies in the USA, those who deal in the secondary market, are not in the same level of Sharia compliance. They are not. ليسوا سواء. Some of them actually are acceptable enough or halal enough, and some of them that's barely, you can say that, okay, if this is the only option that you have, go for it. And some of them actually are none. Based on our analysis as a fiqh council, we do have five major companies who are dealing in the secondary market. Now forget about those small size companies like Amin Housing, for example. Amin Housing is an independent Islamic mortgage company in California. They serve their local community. It's based on membership based or contribution based. So you have to pay them monthly, accumulate some money until you are able to pay the down payment for your own house, and you sign with them diminishing or declining partnership agreement. Their way of handling business is halal enough. They used to have some glitches in their contract in the past. They asked me and Sheikh Salah Hassawi and Sheikh Jamal Zarabozo to check their contract. We did. We found out some mistakes and glitches there. We asked them to correct them, and they did correct them, right? So because they operate off the secondary market, they can implement whatever they think is correct. So dealing with them actually is halal. Problem here is that their financial capability is to the minimum. Their financial capacity is they cannot serve more than maybe 50, maximum of 60 different houses a year, which is nothing comparison to 5 million Muslims living in the USA. And they operate regionally, just only in the state of California. Recently they get a license to operate in the state of Texas, in my state, right? Commercial wise, they operate nationwide. Commercial finance, they operate nationwide. Now we do have some other attempts, very, very small size companies like Nia, like Aya, and I'm still actually studying their contracts. We as a fiqh council did not issue anything regarding those new companies. Now the problem is with those companies who are a part of the secondary market, namely Guidance Residential, University Islamic Financial, Devon Bank, Ijara Loan, and La Riba, right? Those are the five major companies that people usually ask about. You will see in this presentation this is Amin Housing, that's halal. If you live in California and you want to finance with them commercial, or even if you live outside California, their commercial finance is not as Sharia compliant as their residential. Okay, they skip the maintenance and the insurance. I mean, they have told me that. Are they still violating these rules, or they went back to track? I do not know. But when it comes to their residential, the residential actually is good enough. Difference between Guidance Residential and other companies is that Guidance is not operating as a bank. They operate as an investment company. So by the mortgage code, right, they do have the right to own the property. This is actually a very fundamental difference between Guidance Residential and other companies. And just FYI, for the first few years of their operation, they were unable to sell their contracts in the secondary market. They went to the court. They went to the courthouse and they filed a case against Freddie Mac, and they won the case. Okay, now Freddie Mac, by choice or by force, has to take the contracts of Guidance Residential. Now, the fact that they operate as an investment company does give them the right of owning a house. They do own a house, or the houses that they finance, not directly under the name of Guidance Residential. For liability separation purposes, they create an LLC. That LLC actually is a small derivative of Guidance Residential, and they add the LLC as one of the owners of property in addition to you as a customer. Based on our analysis as AMJA, as a fiqh council, this company's mode of finance is reasonable enough. It's halal enough, right? They do have some glitches, some violations in their contract, but overall speaking, is it a good option for you to finance your own home or your own house with Guidance Residential? The answer actually is yes. Because if you say no, other option is to go with Chase and with Capital One and Wells Fargo. So instead of going with 100% haram, you can go with a company that its overall performance is acceptable, reasonable enough, or halal enough, as they say, halal enough. The second one is you can read actually more details in the Devon Bank and University Islamic Financial. They both actually operate as banks, and according to the OCC, the Office of Controller of Currency, they cannot, by the law of the land, they cannot own properties for financing purposes. It's not their job. Their job actually is to lend money with interest. They cannot own properties unless if it is a foreclosed property, or otherwise like properties or offices for their own use, like to have their own offices, their own branches. Otherwise, they are not in the business of owning properties for financing purposes. Their job is to lend money with interest. So their Islamic or so-called Islamic mode of finance is very questionable and very controversial. Why? Because they cannot own, and they claim that they own. Anyway, based on the fatwa of AMJA, if Guidance Residential is not available, then you can, for a dire need, go with University Islamic Financial and Devon Bank. Maybe UIF, University Islamic Financial, is a little bit Sharia compliant because they did some modification, or although on a personal level I'm not happy with what they have done. I do not believe that they have done a good job. Contract actually is still the same, but anyway, they did some modification. So you go with Guidance Residential first, if not with University Islamic Financial, if not you go with Devon Bank. When it comes to Ijara loan, the name of the company is Ijara Loan. By the way, the University Islamic Financial recently added a new mode of finance called Musharaka. Their Musharaka actually is disapproved by me, not by AMJA. Their Musharaka is not a Sharia compliant because they do not own the property. They give what is called like a secret proxy, al-wakala al-sirriya. They give their client a secret proxy to go ahead and to register the house under his name on their behalf. So their name is not appeared in the documents whatsoever. And this, in my opinion, I might be wrong, this might, in my opinion, makes the whole deal actually a non-Sharia compliant. So if you want to go with the UIF, they do, by the way, they do commercial as well. Not only residential, they do commercial. Go with their ijara, go with their murabaha, but do not go with their musharaka one. Ijara loan actually is different. It's not a bank, it's not an investment company, it is a broker. So they ask you, I mean, the way that they conduct their business is that they ask you to go and to apply for a conventional mortgage. Conventional mortgage. Once your application is approved, you get back to them, they create a trust, and that trust actually goes ahead and borrows that money that you are approved for from the traditional bank. So instead of you committing riba once, you commit riba twice. You go independently, you apply for like a conventional loan, and once you are approved, you go back and you join that so-called trust and borrowing that money based on interest-bearing loan from the bank. It could be Chase, could be Wells Fargo, it could be Capital One, it could be Bank of America. Okay, so based on MJ declaration, ijara loan is a non-Sharia compliant. It is not. Even if they create what's called like a trust and they ask you to sign lease to own agreement, the damage is already there. The money has been borrowed with interest from the conventional bank that you applied for. The very last one is la riba. They used to go, well, they used to claim, to put it this way, they used to claim in the past that they go with the diminishing partnership or declining partnership. And according to MJ analysis, actually their declining partnership is a non-Sharia compliant. It is absolutely not. And I always say that la riba is the absolute actual riba. It is a riba bi'ayni. Now they changed their mode of finance recently. They said, you know what, we are not declining partnership, we go with something called declining participation and usufruct. Declining participation usufruct. Based on this mode of finance, they supposedly buy the property, but they exclude the usufruct, like the right of occupying the property. And they ask you to pay them whatever they paid for the house. Let's say that they purchased the house for $500,000, right? باستثناء المنفعة, بيع العين واستثناء المنفعة. So the house actually is theirs, okay, supposedly, but okay, and they sell it to you, right? But they exclude the usufruct. That's a mode of finance. It's called بيع العين واستثناء المنفعة. In order for you to live in the house, you have to pay them rent. So they purchase the house for $500,000 and they sell it to you for $500,000. According to them, oh, there is no interest. Well, even if they charge you more than $500,000, it's still halal, by the way. But the problem here is that the secret proxy, they do not put the house under their name. They do not. They ask you to go ahead and to buy the house under your name on their behalf. So you represent them in buying the house, right? And this is like a very problematic for me. And second of all, they allow you to live in the house and to pay them rent, but they are not responsible for the maintenance. Anything happen, minor or major, you are responsible for it. Tax, insurance, everything actually is your responsibility. So you end up borrowing from them. I mean, this is the reality of the deal. You borrow from them $500,000, you pay it back $800,000 within the next 30 years. There is no difference whatsoever between la riba and the conventional mortgage, and that's why actually, in my opinion, it is not halal. Whether they claim to go with the diminishing partnership or they claim to go with the declining participation in usufruct, actually their mode of finance actually is not halal. And to prove my opinion, la riba and ijara loan, both, they operate nationwide, unrestricted. They do not have to apply state by state to be able to operate. They operate anytime, anywhere, right? Unlike guidance residential. Guidance residential has to go state by state. University Islamic Financial has to go state by state. Devon Bank has to go, state by state. It shows that their practice is not 100% within the mainstream. When it comes to ijara loan and la riba, they operate nationwide with no limitation, with no restriction, which means clearly that their mode of finance is none but a conventional mortgage. As I said, there are a lot of details that cannot be captured in this presentation. Even if you decide to join guidance college for classes, like to be a non-degree student, that would be fine, by the way. You don't have to be a degree student, right? You think that you want to educate yourself more in Islamic finance and insurance and capital market, you can join like for 1 or 2 classes. Here's our website, and this is the main line. This is my email, and actually I do Sharia compliance consultancy as a side business. So if you are interested, you can go to this link and just ask for a conversation or a phone call, and inshallah we'll go from there. Jazakumullah khair for your time, for your effort. I'm really glad to be with this community. We still have, I have to leave by 1 o'clock. I do have a meeting at 1 o'clock with another group, so we have 40 minutes for question and answer. The floor is yours, but please excuse me because I have to leave by 1 o'clock. Deal? طيب. Is that? طيب, let's now open the floor for question and answer, inshallah. We'll go from there. Inshallah, give me just 1 second. طيب. We do have a lot of questions here, and it's hard for me to read everything. If you are interested, maybe someone can sit here and just read those questions for me. Inshallah, I will answer as much as I can if I know the answer. Let me start with the student loan. Do you want to hear the short version or the long version answer? Okay. The MJ position when it comes to student loans is as follows. Number one, we need to encourage our students to go and look for halal by default sponsorship opportunities. We do have a lot of financial aid, grants and scholarships, and it's really unfortunate to say that millions of dollars are returned unclaimed to the federal government every single year because students are not active enough in going after those different sponsorship opportunities. Now, if those halal by default, I call them, sponsorship, grants, financial aid are not there, then students can apply for the subsidized loan. Subsidized loan is a kind of interest-free loan for a certain period of time, given or granted based on financial need for the undergraduate students. So for those who are financially challenged, they will be qualified for a subsidized loan. Based on the subsidized loan, you will be having what's called the grace period, 6 months to 9 months after graduation to pay in full the total amount, which is something in reality close to impossible. I mean, who can pay back $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in 6 months? You barely can find a job within the next 60 months of your graduation. And if you default in paying in full, then whatever remaining balance will be an interest-bearing loan, and they start calculating interest on you. We said that if the halal by default sponsorship opportunities are not available, or they are available but they are insufficient, then students can go with the subsidized loan. Now the problem here is not with the subsidized loan. Problem is with the unsubsidized loan, which is an interest-bearing loan from day one. But the only difference is that during your study, you are not required to pay off the loan. You just wait until you graduate, and then you start paying. This is and financial eligibility is not a condition. Anyone can apply for it, right? So the problem with this one is that it is an interest-bearing loan from day one. So without you committing yourself and signing an agreement that yes, I'm willing to pay interest and I have to pay interest, you can't proceed with that loan. Now, we found out actually that this situation could be interpreted as a kind of darura, kind of necessity, because of lacking alternative. Okay, if you cannot own a house, no big deal, you can rent a house. But if you do not have money to pay for the tuition fees, you will be kicked out of the program or the college that you are in. So we said that for those who are running out of options, and the only thing they have is only the unsubsidized loan, interest-bearing loan, they can borrow money with interest as needed only for education, for higher education. Higher education includes undergrad, graduate study, PhD, postdoctorate, MD, law school, MBA, whatever the level might be. If someone is positive that he or she does not have any other resources other than unsubsidized loan, then taking money, borrowing money with interest for higher education purposes would be exempted, and inshallah it would be halal, again as a kind of exception. That's the official position of AMJA in this regard. نعم. تفضل أخي. Murabaha حبيبنا means like price plus or price plus markup. It's a mode of finance, very simple one, that if you are interested in buying a house, you go to the bank and tell them, listen, I want to buy this house, right? Buy it for me. So they buy it spot sale, they pay for it cash, $500,000, and then sell it back to you for $600,000 or $700,000 in installment. So they buy it spot sale, they sell it back to you credit sale, and they make profit. So they have to close on it, they have to buy it, they have to own it, and then they can sell it back to you to avoid giving you a loan, right? Now that's the murabaha. The ijara one actually is the lease to own. Lease to own. They have to buy the property, they become the landlord, they sign a long-term lease agreement with you. Upon the completion of that lease agreement, they just transfer the title to you either for free or for a nominal price. The musharaka is the declining partnership. You buy the property jointly with them with the agreement that you're going to rent their share and buy their shares like gradual. Those are, I would say, the most famous different Islamic modes of finance. طيب تفضل. No, this is not the problem. The problem here is that some of the states here in the US, some states do allow the construction company to own 100% of the affiliate mortgage company. So in reality, the contractor himself is the owner of the mortgage company, which means clearly that there is no loan to start with. It's just manufacturing sale, but they call it loan and mortgage for financing purposes because they do not have the luxury of waiting for you. That's why they ask you to sign a construction agreement where they build the house for you, and you sign as well loan agreement, interest-bearing loan. They take that loan, that document, as you said, next day in the morning going to Freddie Mac, liquidating the contract. Now the question here, if and only if the state does allow the construction company to own 100% of the mortgage company, are you borrowing money from the mortgage company? No, you are not. In reality, what you are going through is called Aqdul Istisna, manufacturing agreement. Manufacturing agreement. This is an installment sale based on the fact that the contractor is the responsible party for bringing the raw materials and do the labor and the construction. So if you are positive that in your state here, in the state of Ohio, that the state does allow the construction company to own the mortgage company 100%, as well as you pick the phone, you talk to the construction company just to make sure that they do own 100% of the affiliate mortgage company, then go for it. Even if they ask you to sign interest-bearing like loan, it's not a loan. This is just like a very nominal loan. Problem here is that in some states, and to my knowledge maybe in Texas, they do not allow the construction company to own 100% of the mortgage company because of the conflict of interest, because they do the appraisal and they do the finance, and that's a clear conflict of interest. So they allow up to 70%, okay, to be owned by the construction company. If that is proven, it means that you cannot do owner finance or you cannot mortgage with that mortgage company, because 30% of the loan is coming from a third party or a stranger. So you are borrowing money with interest. Do your due diligence, find out, and based on my explanation, you can tell that financing a house with the construction company is halal or haram. والله أعلم. طيب. تفضل. Go ahead. Yani financing a house with the company that does have halal financing is permissible. Are you talking about guidance residential? Go for it. Okay. You limit yourself to residential only? Well, we do not have something in writing, but there was a kind of verbal agreement within the Fatwa committee that if you want to finance another house or another houses for commercial purposes with guidance residential, you can do so, because providing halal investment opportunity is a legitimate need. Actually, it is like having a halal finance for your own residential homestead house. Now, الله لطيف بعباده. We are almost okay. We have 10 more minutes. تفضل أخي in the back. Can you come closer أخي? I think we explained it. We said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Be conscious to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, مَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِأَمْرٍ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. When I command you to do something, do it as much as you can. If we want to prohibit dealing in the stock market because there are no 100% halal financial instruments, we're gonna make it very, very hard on the Muslim community, because all the mutual fund investment is in the stock market, individual retirement account is in the stock market, retirement accounts are in the stock market. So you're gonna just like block, like make it really hard for people to live and to work for their financial stability. So we'll go with the opinion that you do your best to make sure that your investment is as halal as possible, to be like further cautious, find out the haram percentage, dispose the profit that is coming from the haram percentage, pay zakah on the rest, and that's the best you can do. No. تفضل. If you already kept the money in your position for one complete year already passed, and you still have the money, you have to pay the account. Is it halal money or haram money? Oh, you kept the money for one complete year, yes, you have to pay zakah. If you held the money for less than 1 year and you put it in a house, like you sold the house You liquidate, I mean, you have the money, and that money actually was invested in another house. You put it in another house for residential purposes. You don't have to pay zakat. But if you kept the money for one complete year, it is zakatable. No. Regardless of the reason behind.
Assalamu alaikum. We'll take 2 more questions because we have to excuse the word Sheikh on this.
تفضل. You want to take over? تفضل. السلام. نعم. احنا اخي we need to make it clear. Are we discussing the permissibility of the options or the feasibility of the options? So do you want to say that because the halal that the halal mortgage is way more expensive, we should permit the haram one? Is this the? No, I'm just all asking. But that is the problem, أخي الكريم. نحن we confuse the permissibility with the profitability or the feasibility. Are we discussing the feasibility here? Which one is more economically like feasible? Want to go with the cheaper one, or we are discussing haram and halal? That's completely like 2 different tracks. If you are discussing the permissibility, then the approved Islamic mortgage company by AMJA is a halal one, and the conventional mortgage actually is haram. Now the fact that those Islamic mortgage companies are taking advantage, they exploiting, they make the profit rate. Alhamdulillah, time's up, right?
So we'll take, is there any question from the sisters? Please.
You're active? نسمع الأذان. خلاص أعتقد الوقت خلص هيك، يعطيك العافية. We done.